Hi, welcome to Money Talk ViewPoint, the financial education podcast where we cater to high net worth individuals, family offices, CPAs, financial advisors, and those who service those sectors. My name is Stuart Cruz. I will be your host today for Money Talk ViewPoint. I'm founder and president of Cruz Asset Management and author of a book called License to Steal: Turn Wall Street Greed into Your Game. You don't know about Cruz Asset Management, we're a quantitative investment firm. We make all of our investment choices and decisions based in math and statistics. We feel that that leads to better outcomes. We also run a virtual family office, which is a team-based approach to managing your wealth and optimizing it, which is a fantastic lead in to our guest here today, Jena Wilson. Jena Wilson works for Elite Resource Team, or ERT, as you were going to call it for a while. It is listed as a training company, but to me, it does so much more than that. I hardly even think of it as training. Jen, I'm going to talk a little bit about your background, but welcome to your.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. It's so great to be here.
It's great having you. So you were a graduate of Rutgers. You worked for Bridge Wealth Advisor and Gottlieb and Associates for a couple of years, and then you made a jump to Hayden Rock Financial. So you spent a lot of time there. Before you got to ERT. So tell me a little bit of, well, wait, before we get into the nitty gritty and the actual stuff, I have a burning question for you.
Yeah.
So everybody at ERT calls you Jena. And we were out one night with a group of people from an annual event, and you confided in our group.
I did. I confided in you, Stuart.
You're like, I like Jen.
I like Jen. It's so funny, and everyone's taken that and ran with it. It's so funny. Yeah, my great
Your LinkedIn profile says Jena.
Yes,
So
Jena is what I go by. That is my
answer the
name.
question.
It's not
Jen or
Jennifer, but my good friends call me Jen. So Stuart, you are a good friend of mine, and I love that you call me Jen. So you can call me Jen.
I'm glad we put that. So I'm going to call you Jen from now on.
Okay. Yes, please do.
Awesome. So let's talk about your experience at Bridge Wealth Advisors and Gottlieb, and then how that led to Hayden Rock, and how those three positions shaped you for your role as senior director at ERT.
Yeah, of course. So I actually started out in hospitality. I worked in restaurants. I come from a long line of family members who are restaurant people. So started there. I kind of was sick of the grind. I was doing event planning in Philadelphia for a lot of the sports complexes in Philadelphia. So think, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, all around there, the Eagles. And it was fun. I mean, I was around different, sports players and things like that, but I knew that wasn't the direction that I really wanted to head. So
Sounds like a dream job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a lot of fun until it's, tailgates and screaming college kids and all of that fun stuff. So I loved it. And I'll always have that passion for event planning. And it's actually kind of followed me into my role today, which is, just always kind of par for the course, right? You end up seeing these different things actually start emerging as you just evolve in your career. So I loved my time there, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more steady. I had a more real time schedule that I could follow throughout the week. So I started as just a secretary admin at Gottlieb and Associates, which was local in New Jersey to me here. And it was an office of about 3 to 5 advisors that I was working under. And I met an advisor who was working really closely with CPAs. And as I sort of just kind of started to get my hands on their social media and things like that, I just kept evolving and evolving. And eventually, one of the advisors there said, "Hey, listen, I really think there's this avenue for advisors to partner with CPAs. And I would love for you to help me in that initiative." So, sure enough, we went and started our own firm, and then later met Paul Latham, who is one of the accountant thought leaders from Hayden Rock, Ian Wellham, who works with us today at Elite Resource Team. And we kind of just started from the ground up, working with accountants who really needed to change the way that they were positioning themselves in the accounting industry. And at that time, it was, so needed, but at the same time, it wasn't as accepted. So I was literally making cold calls to accountants saying, "Hey, I have this, really nice value proposition of helping you build your business, grow your business, and increase your client value. And some people would say, yeah, of course I need that, and was using LinkedIn at a time that wasn't really as saturated.
Mhm.
And it was really evident that it was needed within the accountant industry. Paul Latham, if you don't know about him, he built, grew, and sold his accounting firm for $45 million back in the early 2000s. So if you're going to learn from someone, Paul's the guy to learn from on the accountant side. He then just grew closer to Anton Anderson from Elite Resource Team. And as we sort of started more of this merging, we realized that there really was an opportunity for us to do so much more. Anton was a thought leader on the financial advising side, working with the advisors at Elite Resource Team. We were working with Paul Latham on the accountant side. And as we started to see, there was so much synergy between our two firms that in, I think, 2020, we ERT did acquire Hayden Rock, and that's kind of how I got brought over and have been here for about the past 4 years.
Yeah, super easy task to get accountants to change their ways. So I'm sure you had a really easy time doing that.
It's tough, and it was tough then, and it will continue to be tough. I think now the window has kind of been closing, so they're understanding a little bit more that, hey, I really need to make this change or I'm going to be left behind.
Yeah.
Paul knew it then. I knew it then because I was, really underneath Paul, learning from his experience. And I would say, hey, you're going to be left behind if you don't start adding this more proactive, forward-looking work. And they say, oh, no, I'm going to do what I've always done. And we still certainly get the accountants that have that same mindset, and that's okay. They may continue to do what they've always done and be successful at that. But our best accountants that we work with are the ones that really have that desire to make the change. So much, I think, of that really happened, Stuart, during the COVID-19 pandemic, where they were sort of forced into this virtual world that COVID took so many of us. And fortunately, I was already used to the virtual world. A lot of our ERT members are out in California. I'm on the East Coast in New Jersey. And so it wasn't a big difference for me, but for accountants, it was huge. They weren't used to meeting clients virtually. They had people come into the office, and that just wasn't happening in 2019, 2020, or 2020. So I think that was a really nice push in the direction we already knew it was heading. And then it made it a little bit easier to kind of say, listen, can't you see the world is changing? And we get a little bit more of that, well, less resistance, let's just say, these days than I did maybe back in my early days in like 2014.
Just on a call before this podcast with a group of people, and two of the people were, I kid you not, they made a comment on it. They were on Zoom, but they were about 500 yards apart in different buildings because it's now just easier
Yeah,
to meet.
common. Yeah.
We can share and collaborate screens. You don't have to walk over. I don't have to be oddly weird, hunched over behind somebody's laptop. Am I feeling like I'm invading your space, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
was a huge collaborative. And I have a CPA that's 2 blocks from my place, and I meet with her on Zoom much more regularly.
Right. We're very similar. And I think, he even had a report that was released. I think it was Horizons 2025 or something along those lines that basically came out and said, if you don't start being more proactive and forward looking, you are going to be obsolete. What you're doing is not going to be something that people really value in the future. It might be something that they expect from their accountant. Hey, look at my tax return. Tell me what happened last year and maybe make some adjustments. But that's really not what I really want from a current advisor today, and what you would want, Stuart, and what our best clients are looking for. They want someone who is going to sit down with them and really help them grow their business, especially our business owner clients who are some of the best that we have, and also just some of those mass affluent clients that really just need direction and support. They want to know the changes that they can make to be better in the future for their families and for themselves, rather than just saying, hey, this is what happened last year. There's not much we can do about it, but let's just make these changes. So when you start to think about that tax and compliance work, that so many accountants just get bogged down in the grind. They don't want to do that anymore. And if they do, then that's great and that's totally fine. But more often what we
Dating myself probably a little bit, but this just reminds me of that Jerry Maguire moment, right? So
right.
if you want to continue to do more tax returns at $500, $750, $1,000, whatever that number is, it's the only way you can make more money is to do more tax returns or raise your prices. And in order to do more tax returns, you've got to have more time in the day, or more hours, or more or less sleep. And I think in one of our last meetings, Anton had the analogy with cigarettes kill you. Like, I really like, but do I want another cigarette?
Right, right.
Kind of tastes good. Maybe I should have that other $500 client, but in the long run, it's going to kill me. So I need to have that Jerry Maguire moment where we say fewer clients, more value,
Yeah.
deeper relationship. And quite frankly, when I speak to my clients,
Well said, Stuart. And it's so interesting. I was on with an advisor yesterday, and I meet with some of the accountant partners that they have. And sure enough, the accountant doesn't show up. So we're just kind of waiting there, and he ends up giving the accountant a call. Hey, we have this meeting scheduled with Jena. Where are you? And he goes from, oh, I'm just, spending some time with my family. I'm driving my kids to, I don't want to work with you anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm not into it, or whatever the case is. Come to find out that that accountant, exactly what you identified, maybe a few hundred clients, if that, $500 a client, not, maybe a couple of high net worth individuals, but really not doing any of that proactive work. And it was so easy for me to say to that advisor, he wasn't a good fit anyway, doesn't have the desire, doesn't have the clients, and doesn't want to make that change. He has to have that Jerry Maguire moment of, this isn't what I want to do anymore. Cigarettes kill me. So that's the first thing. And I also say too that so many accountants are actually providing some of that proactive work that their clients think that they're doing. So they might be, providing one or two items here, or giving them a call when they see a strategy that might make sense for them, but are they doing it in a repeatable, predictable, scalable way? That's the question, right? So do you have a process? Is there a way that you can plug into a system where you can identify the needs of your clients, prioritize those needs? So actually ask them, what's important to you? So you may.
yeah, I have a client that was paid in Rolex watches, not Chicago. So,
Wow, okay.
she had to monetize her Rolex watches. And of course, I was the first call, which was fantastic because
There you go.
they had no idea how to monetize Rolex watches, but I have somebody in my network who I think could, or multiple people who could help me. The whole discussion about CPAs, it reminded me of a kind of a stupid, maybe semi-dad joke was, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, it only takes one, but the light bulb has to want to change. So that's what you need. You need a CPA that
Yeah, and I appreciate that, sir, because I do think it is so much more than that. And what I really think that we do is allow advisors to come in who really do have that desire to make a change. So Paul Latham will talk about the three ingredients of business success: it's vision, it's plan, it's desire. And we can help you with your vision, and we can certainly give you a plan like the training, but you have to have the desire to make the change. We don't have some magic bullet. We're not selling leads. We're not a referral program. We don't come in and say, hey, do this dinner seminar and you'll end up with, a bunch of new clients. What we do at Elite is really empower the advisors that we work with to leverage not only our virtual family office, but the CPA partners that they can leverage as well to really do what we have been talking about: increase client value, grow revenues, grow profits, but also have some career fulfillment along the way. We want to make sure that you're actually not just going back to the grind and feeling like you're doing some of those outdated referral model, that work that doesn't fulfill anyone, I don't think, when it comes to our industry. So we really think that we operate in not your traditional blue ocean, because I think that even is becoming more and more popular when you start to think about the phrase of the comparison of the red ocean to the blue ocean, right? So red ocean, super competitive. You don't feel like there's anything that's really making you different. Whereas what we think at Elite is that we operate in this blue ocean, which is really where there is no competition. And why is that? And I think it has to do with three things. So the coaching, as we mentioned, so the training, our systems and processes. So we have,
say used car salesman, financial advisor. That's where.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would never say that about the advisors that we work with in our community. And you know them so well as I do too. And they're wonderful people, but they work together. Even the advisors themselves, when we're, in our communities, you're constantly reaching out to other professionals to say, hey, what can I do for this client? They have a need. Can you help? Can the expert help? Can my accountant help? And all that does is, and I think the best way to put it for those who are listening who may need to just kind of catch up to what we're talking about is if you went to your ENT with a heart problem, they're not going to perform heart surgery for you. They're going to call that heart surgeon that they know can do the best work.
Yeah, it's a vastly different culture. When I first got into this business, it was a scarcity mindset, right? Everybody was in competition with each other. I did my training in New York. That was brutal. I've got a gazillion different examples about how it was just all head to head against each other, even internally. And the call I was just on before, I was on with 3, 4 other advisors where not too long ago, I would have considered each one of them a competitor, but we were working collaboratively on the behalf of the client, where we were talking about what's the best outcome, best situation for that client. And as you said, the client wins 1,000.
Mindset. And I think so many of our advisors come.
I've seen it play out. So, we've danced around a little bit of this virtual family office, and you started to define.
So the family office started years and years ago. I think Rockefeller was the first person to create it, and really was for ultra high net worth families, for someone to come in and just manage that particular family's assets, everything of their financial universe. What we've come to find out is what typical clients and our best clients are really looking for is that same concept, but don't really have the deep pockets to afford something like that for their families themselves or for them individually or their business. So the concept of the virtual family office, I think, is widely growing. And I think we have really been at the forefront of that, which has just been so incredible to see the evolution. Years ago, we sort of had names on a sheet with phone numbers and things like that of just, hey, you could go to this person or that person, which is great. But the more we've kind of adapted into this virtual world, the more that we've seen there was so much opportunity across the nation to really start to see who are our advisors working with. So we had kind of our experts that we had been using for years, but the more and more we started to adapt to Fusion advisors like you, Stuart, or people like higher members of our community said, actually, I've got a guy, or I have someone that I work with locally, or this is someone that I've heard of that is really great. We go through and we vet them, and we've come up with, as I said, about 70 plus experts, best in breed, all over the country in 5 different disciplines, which is going to be tax, risk mitigation.
My clients are not the Rockefellers of the world.
Right.
They are, usually millionaires or the millionaire next door or a little bit more. They can't afford a payroll of having multiple, CPA, financial advisor, estate planning lawyer, private equity guy on their payroll, but they need some of these services some of the times. And so you can put these people together for that opportunity and then disband them when you don't need them. And it's a fantastic platform.
Great, that can be your local team. We never want to take away the experts that people are already using, right? Because you might have spent years developing these relationships, and that's wonderful. And so I wouldn't say, you don't have to steer away from local experts or teams that you're using or some of these bigger BDs that have them for you. What I would say is that the VFO allows you to not have to spend the time and the resources and doing so much due diligence to start to just get even close to kind of what we've actually come to evolve into. So I think that's the number one thing I hear, Stuart, from the advisors that we work with is I could never have taken the time on top of all of what I have to do on my day-to-day work schedule, plus, the experts that I already have. I thought I was getting there. I thought I had this kind of already in place. And then you kind of take a look at ours and you see that it's just so I think just so well built, and it really allows, we have some experts, multiple experts in the same discipline, so that you can compare the 2 different experts. One might be for more of the data.
For those of people who don't know and not familiar with the platform, you've created the technology and software such that if there is a local expert that we like, a estate planning lawyer or what have you, your software is set up just so that you don't put the competition in the client's face. It's not meant to be disruptive. You can say that
100%. And I think that's, some people have that hesitation coming in. Well, I've already got, so and so on my team, or, oh, well, I've been working with XYZ for all these years and it's great. That's amazing. But what if, that expert can't handle the business that maybe our expert could, or vice versa. I mean, isn't it great to have more eyes on one particular case or one strategy or one client circumstance and to just have the one? And so I think that it's so cool that you mentioned the technology, because it is as simple as a button to disable an expert so they never come up again. But if maybe that expert you end up having a falling out with, you pop them right back on and there they are. And they're always that extension of your team. So it's never meant, again, to take away anyone's expertise or the relationships that you've built, but it's really meant to be that extension so that you're looking bigger, especially for so many, Stuart, of the advisors that we work with. They don't have these huge internal teams, maybe one partner, a couple partners, maybe an internal staff or two, but they're not working these like huge.
It's fantastic. You mentioned, I wouldn't say a dirty word, but the word case. And so I'm going to put you on the spot in understanding that this is going to be hard to narrow down for you. But I think people always love examples. And so I'm sure you've seen a myriad, hundreds of examples.
I tend to enjoy our experts that aren't even really in this more like financial field. So people like a Jeff Deckman who have come in, and he's our leadership and culture expert, who he will come in and talk about, tribes and working with, really making sure that your team is engaged. And why I like that, I think, is just because I run a team and I really resonate with the types of advisors that we work with who are trying to be better leaders. They really want to come in and grow themselves and not just their business, but really as individuals. And so I love the experts like the Jeff Deckmans or the John Cuttons of the world who are just explosively successful. And they come in and actually teach our advisors exactly what to do in order to have that team be more engaged, more efficient, to create this culture of a tribe, to make sure that you're working all in the same direction, to have the right people in the right seats, to make sure that as you're growing your business, it's going in the direction that you want it to. And I think that that's allowed our advisors to really feel like I can have all of these kind of financial strategies in place, which, Stuart, as you said, we could say, hundreds of them. But really, what about this sort of business advisory side of becoming that better business and that better leader and that better all around individual that will gravitate not only better staff, but also better clients, because you're really exuding that, I think, persona of being just sort of that kind of 10x personality. And so
not about desire to change, or even resistance to change from CPAs, and I'll say advisors, or just human nature. It's pretty hard to want to change. And we alluded to the fact that the industry's changing around CPAs and certainly changing around advisors. But what I think might go unnoticed to some extent is, and I'll just take it from my own stuff, I get stagnant, of course. So if a client's working with me and I've been in this business 25 plus years, I personally probably am a little stagnant or static to some extent. I'll have to admit that. But maybe you can talk to a little bit.
100%. And just being a part of the company and watching it evolve has been so fun to see. I think so many of our advisors can be like, oh, another change or something else is different, but it's always in the benefit of the advisors and accountants that we work with to make things better. And I think when you really surround yourself with high-end experts that are doing, really wonderful things out there in the community, it really does give you that desire that we talked about to keep up and to make sure that you're at the forefront and inventing the game rather than just playing the game. So we really take pride in that. And I think that it is a wonderful way to kind of guide our roadmap to the future. And I will say that I really think the VFO is the future, and we are equipped to kind of take on more and more of these.
Jena, it's been awesome having you on the show. Before we wrap this up, I just really kind of have one maybe summary question, if you will. For those who have just never seen ERT or virtual family.
Number one is going to be, you have to get out of your own way. Take the mindset of a desire to want to evolve, to want to change, and to not be looking for that magic bullet, right? We all want things quickly, especially in this day and age. You want things to happen just like that. But this really is a proven process that takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Our most successful clients are those that put the time and the effort into changing the way that they think, changing the way that they behave, and becoming better leaders. So I would say that, don't expect things to happen overnight, especially if you're working with accountants. It's not going to happen that way, but stick to it, stick to the process. Here in Philly, we say trust the process. And, I think that that is really the best thing that you can do. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like a genius. That is really our mentality here, is we've got the scripts that.
Well, Jenna, I'm going to go with Jen. Jen, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, you could always reach out to me at Elite. Just go ahead and do support at elitert.com, and you can get in contact with me. Feel free to reach out on our website, www.
I always love those events. So I'm looking forward to the next one, probably in January or something like that.
Yeah, yes.
The Leap Fusion Lab. So
Yep.
Well, Jenna, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate your time. You can get a hold of me, Stuart at cruiseassetmanagement.com, or you can find us on our YouTube channel at Cruise AM and LinkedIn at Cruise AM. This has been Money Talk ViewPoint. It's a podcast geared towards high net worth and financial professionals and virtual family office people and those who service them. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, you can reach out to moneytalkviewpoint.org. Again, my name has been Stuart Cruz. It's been a pleasure to host you today, where we try to make this financial world better every day. Thank you so much.